Well, hey, 4th and 5th grade group leaders, I just want to take a second and walk through our small group guide for this weekend. First of all, it is going to be Easter. It's going to be a hoppy Easter. Get it? Hoppy? Yeah, it's dumb. Puns aren't that funny, which is funny because there's a ton of puns in our small group guide for this weekend. But that's all right. If you like puns, more puns to you. Just wasted 10 seconds. That's okay. We're going to start. So our first activity, first of all, we're in a new series. It's all about patience, waiting until later for what you want now. The series is called Road Trip. We'll be talking about patience throughout the entire series. And this weekend, our bottom line is Jesus is alive. And our memory verse comes from Psalm 27:14. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and don't lose hope. Wait for the Lord. And so our first activity is a fun one. You're going to have a basket with some plastic eggs in it, and inside those plastic eggs are going to be a list, or not a list, are going to be some of these questions folded up, and you're going to let one kid go at a time, pick an egg, take a question out, answer the question. Simple as that. If you have questions you want to add, if you have questions you want to ask, if you want to come up with some own questions of your own, you can suggest that to your director, and that's great. Go for it. I want to empower you guys to have the best group experience that you can, and if you feel like adding some fun questions would help, great, go for it. We want to empower you to do that. Cool. The second activity, so that's the first activity, pretty easy, just get to know each other, create some fun conversation there, get them engaged. The second activity is it's a little difficult, if I'm being honest. It involves some reading of the Bible, and it involves some interaction with them and drawing out some things. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have this timeline card. These are kind of the timeline of God's story, and they're going to talk about this in large program. And so what I'm going to ask all of us to do is take some time with your group, have all these cut out already, and you're going to have your group try and put them in order the best they can. You can help them if you need to, but the goal is to get them to understand that God's story started with Him creating it, man kind of failing, and then God playing these other little pieces in there that are all a part of God's big story. And then you're going to divide them up into 3 teams, and you're going to assign every team a chapter from Luke 22, 23, and 24. So they're each going to get one of those chapters, and you're going to have them read that chapter. If you need to help them read it, great, help them read it. And then after they're done reading it, you're going to ask them to pick 2 to 5 to between 2 and 6, so it can be 3, it could be 2, events within their chapter that they want to draw out on a piece of paper. So for example, the one could be Judas betraying Jesus, or the one could be Jesus going to the cross. It could be anything out of their chapter. They can even, if you want to instruct them even further, they can take the headlines at the top of their page and draw those things out. And so have them read that. If you don't have enough to break off into that many groups, then you can just do it all together. You can just pick one of the chapters and do it, whatever works best for you. Again, an outline, not a set of rules. This is to help you lead your group in a discussion about the story, God's big story, and how Jesus plays such a big part in that. And so there's some more instructions on there on what you're going to do with those cards. Basically, you're going to put them in the right order along with these, and then talk about how this is all a part of God's plan. And if we take one piece of it out, it changes everything. And so you'll talk a little bit about how that's super important. And then the last thing is some discussion questions, and then our prayer. Our prayer at the end, I want to take a second and explain a little bit of what this is going to look like. This weekend, we want to do a salvation prayer, an ABC prayer, what we called it in the past, an opportunity to ask kids and have kids who maybe don't come around a lot, or maybe it's their first time there, to accept Jesus for the very first time. Maybe they heard the gospel for the first time, maybe they understood it for the first time, and we want to give them a chance to accept Jesus, to commit their lives to following Him. And so if you're new around here and you don't know what ABC prayer is, it just stands for admit, believe, and commit. There's some explanations on the small group guide of what each of those things mean, but pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's a pretty easy kind of outline for you to use. If you don't want to use that outline and you just want to present the gospel and ask them if they want to accept Jesus, and you can use your own words if you'd like, feel free to do that. This isn't for you to read. It's for a guide, again. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful. 3 activities this week. We got some questions, a game, and then prayer, and some questions at the end. It should be fun. So if you guys have any questions, let your director know, and they would love to help you out. Sweet. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Happy Easter.